Hello, and welcome to the fourth episode of the Beginnings of the National Catholic Center for Holocaust Education podcast series. During this series, we will focus on the history of the center as well as some stories from the beginning stages of the center's formation. We will be interviewing folks who have been involved with the center from the early beginnings and who will have impacted the center in a productive way. In this episode, we get to hear from Wilda Kaylor, the previous Associate Director of the National Catholic Center for Holocaust Education. She has been involved with the center for many years as both an employee as well as a volunteer and community member. Wilda has certainly been a key player in many of the center's endeavors. As an alumna of Seton Hill, Wilda has and will continue to be a part of the university and center's history. Keep listening to hear some of the great insights and stories that Wilda has to share.
Please describe your first memories of hearing about the establishment of the center.
All right. It was the summer of 1987, and I met Gemma Del Duca in the hallway, and she hadn't been back to Seton Hill for a long time. And I knew Gemma because she was our class advisor in my freshman year at Seton Hill, and I'm not going to give the date. Anyway, I was glad to see her, and Sister Noel was there also, and I asked them what they were doing, and they explained that they were working on this project to start a Holocaust Center, and that I guess they had spoken to Joanne, who was our new president, or president-elect that summer, and they had to put together a proposal, and Sister Noel was very enthusiastic about that. So, and the other thing I wanted to mention is I've been friends with Sister Noel for a long time, and we corresponded while she was in Korea for that year teaching English, and I was aware of the fact that she had gone to Israel to visit Sister Gemma because we wrote letters. In those days, it wasn't email.
I see. Very good. Okay. And what was your role in helping to found the center?
Sister Noel was perfectly confident and competent to do proposals. And I had just begun working with Joanne Boyle in grant writing. And so I knew what Sister Noel let me know what she was doing and passed on information about the ideas in the center. But I know she worked that summer on several drafts of a proposal. And that was, Joanne said she would take that to the Board of Trustees to introduce to them and to let them vote on whether or not they wanted to approve this center.
Good. Oh, very good. Who were, in your opinion, the most important people you worked with during the early stages of the center's creation?
Sister Gemma was responsible for establishing the center's connections in Jerusalem, in Israel, and she worked with Yad Vashem to create the Catholic Institute for Holocaust Studies. And that was her role. Here in the United States, Sister Noel established an office at Seton Hill. She established a mailing list, which grew over the years, which was very important. She made many connections. She really traveled and reached out to those in the Jewish and Christian relations and established a lot of good ties for the center. And she also laid the groundwork for all the procedures and things. I mean, I've been an administrator of the center, and when I took over after Sister Noel handled that for 10 years, I really appreciated all of the procedures and processes that she put in place. She was very capable, and both of them were. They both had their areas of expertise.
Mm-hmm. Good, very good. What other important things do you want to tell me about the early days of the center, please?
Well, I remember that Sybil Schwartz was highly involved. She had been working at Seton Hill. She was one of our counselors. And I remember that summer, the first summer, when Sister Noel and Sister Gemma were putting together the proposal, that Sybil was there to give them advice and was very helpful. And I also knew as that proposal went to the Board of Trustees in the fall, that the Board of Trustees was very supportive, but particularly our Jewish members of the board. Stanley Gumberg was one, Bob Davis another, and I'm thinking Mr. Morris. I haven't, that's something I haven't checked to make sure I have all the names. And also Eileen Farrell got involved and was also another person who was very helpful. And later on, as the center, and I don't know the exact timeline here, center kind of expanded. I know that Tom Voss, who was also an early advisory board member, along with Eileen Farrell and Sybil Schwartz, were also very helpful to the center. All right. Sister Lois was very supportive of the center. She went on one of the early Catholic Institute for Holocaust Studies programs in Israel and came back so enthusiastic that she established or helped establish for the center a teacher's workshop in the summer. And she and other faculty, B.J. Verma was an early one involved, were able to offer teachers this program, especially the Catholic teachers in the Diocese of Greensburg. And she did that, and not only that, but Lois also taught a course on the Holocaust. It was actually, she taught a course on the Holocaust, I think, as a separate course at one time. And then she transitioned that into a senior seminar, which had the Holocaust as the base focus for the goals of that seminar. And that was excellent because that really exposed a lot of students to the center and also to our work.
In your opinion, what was the founding vision of the center?
I think it was always to promote Christian-Jewish relations in a Catholic setting through Holocaust education. And that's in a nutshell.
Yes, yes. And again, in your opinion, how would you characterize the work and the mission of the center? How do you think it has changed over the years?
I think that the mission has remained remarkably the same. I don't think we've deviated from it. I think it's essential that at the beginning of the center, things coincided that Pope John Paul II came in the fall of that year to the United States. And he spoke to the presidents of Catholic colleges and universities in New Orleans. And Joanne Boyle attended that meeting. And he actually encouraged the teaching of the Holocaust. And as you know, Pope John Paul II was Polish, and he was in Poland during the occupation and knew what happened to the Jews there. He was also friends with Jews throughout his life. So I think that was a very important thing, and I think it was important that it coincided with the founding of our center. I would say, though, that within that mission, that the work of the center certainly expanded over the years. First, it was the Catholic Institute for Holocaust Studies in Israel, and Sister Noel was very involved in the early years, recruiting groups to go study from a Catholic Jewish perspective. And also Sister Gemma at that time involving various scholars, Catholic and Jewish, to come together for that program. The program in Israel changed slightly in that it was separate at first from the Summer Institute that was offered. But later, offerings were integrated, and it was one Summer Institute with candidates recruited by Yad Vashem directly and also by our center. But it also included the Church of the Holocaust and other topics. So, and as well as activities and field trips and events that Sister Gemma arranged. So it became a very good partnership. The other thing is that Sister Noel here in the United States expanded the programs through adding the conference, publication of the proceedings, local and regional programming. I think those are all important. And the center in recent years has done a lot with Yom HaShoah and joining with Christian Jewish groups in the region with the various ministeriums. And now I see that it's we're using different means of communicating with people, and that's through the internet and various platforms. so that programs can be online. I mean, the last conference was primarily online, and I think there's been a lot of outreach. I know during my time in the center, we took a lot of time setting up a website. That was a major accomplishment. That was something that was new to us, as Seton Hill moved forward in technology. And we had a lot of talented students who worked on those things. And even the website evolved. I think we had 3 or 4 different iterations of that over the years. And we put on more information, articles and things, and it's certainly integrated into the institutional website at this point. So I think all of those things were ways that the center still got the same mission, still worked on the same goals, but did it in different ways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anything else that you would like to add?
But I think that we always had good communications, good working relationships, and I still appreciate what they did. They really gave this center a firm foundation and a very clear mission, which is important. And I think that's why the center has longevity. I think it's why it's still here. Over the years, Joanne Boyle was a big supporter of the center, and I don't know if I emphasized that enough in this discussion. That was true at the beginning, and that was true until Joanne retired and later died. But she was always very supportive of the center, of the sisters, of our work. There was no question about that. And Sister Lois, too. We really didn't get into the number of people at Seton Hill who later joined the center and supported it. Many faculty, the students were fantastic, and I had many, many outstanding interns over the years, and also volunteers, yourself, and also Barbara Kennedy. There were people who did a lot for the center, and our advisory board was very supportive too. I don't think I won't name all the names, but they were certainly loyal to the center and very long-term, and many of them continue today. So it was a very good, firm foundation, and it couldn't have continued though without the support of all those people and the institution.